The Masters A tournament has finally begun. Let's jump into it. Hey, what's going on everyone? Entering Infinity here. Today I'm back with a brand new video to talk about Pokemon Journeys episode 129, where the Masters 8 tournament finals finally begin with Ash versus Leon kicking off. So the episode pretty much doesn't waste a whole lot of time getting started. We see Ash in the locker room getting ready to go. The big cameo of the episode was seeing Dawn again. I thought that was nice. And Ash just pretty much readies up his team and kind of hypes them up. And then we see the competitors kind of walk out onto the battlefield, and while the judge is giving his little speech, they cut to a lot of different other people, and we get to see other little cameos like the other Masters 8 contestants and different things like that. I thought it was nice to see the different ways that people are watching it. I like that Cynthia and Diantha are friends and are watching it together. I thought that was cool. I like to see Iris, how she was up in a tree watching it on her tablet. I thought that was pretty cool. So there's little things like that were a nice touch, and it was a nice way to do it without taking away from the episode, because it was just the judge kind of giving his opening remarks, and then they were doing all the little cameos, which is good. Very shocked that we didn't get to see more of Ash's friends. I'm guessing they're saving it all for the next two episodes, but the fact that none of them actually showed up in person I think is pretty disappointing and pretty disrespectful to Ash. If I was him in real life, I'd be pretty pissed that none of my friends came to watch me in the finals of one of the most historic moments in his life. So that's pretty crazy, but also for us as fans, it's one of the most historic moments in the anime's 25-year history. I mean, to think that Ash is in the finals, in the biggest tournament in the Pokemon world that we've been living in for 25 years. So it's pretty surreal, and it's crazy that we're finally here, and this episode really kicks it off nicely. So while the judge is giving his usual spiel about how each trainer can only use one of their gimmicks between Dynamax, Mega Evolution, and Z move, we see Leon interrupt him, and while I don't speak Japanese and I watch this in Raw, I could surmise from what he said is that he wants Ash to be able to use all of his gimmicks and not just be limited to one, which I'm assuming will go both ways. But pretty much he speaks out a proposal, and the judge kind of calls his bosses, and they confirm that it's okay as long as Ash agrees to it. So Ash does agree to it because Leon just wants to have an all-out battle with everything they got. So I'm assuming now that they're both allowed to use one of each gimmick. I doubt it's just only Ash that could do it. So the question is now okay, first of all, that's awesome. Second of all, how many gimmicks is Leon going to have access to? We know he already has Dynamax/Gigantamax, but does he have Mega Evolution, and does he have a Z move? I mean, highly doubtable that he has one of those generic Z moves on his Pokemon. So the question really remains is, does Leon have Mega Evolution? So knowing the Pokemon that he's going to be using on his team, his Charizard is the only one that can even Mega Evolve, and I think that it would be kind of crazy if he doesn't Gigantamax his Charizard in the finals, but I mean, anything's really possible. He doesn't really even have to. So I think it'd be interesting to see if Leon can use two gimmicks and maybe has a Mega Charizard Y that a lot of people have been speculating for a long time that he had. So it'd be interesting to see kind of what he pulls out, or is it just going to be Ash's three gimmicks against his one? I mean, that would be pretty crazy. So more to come on that, but I'm looking forward to seeing how that all plays out. But for us fans, that just means all the more action and craziness that we get to see all these gimmicks going on in this 6v6. It's probably going to be one of the most wild battles we've ever seen, and rightfully so. So once they agree to the terms, they kick the battle off. Leon sends out his Cinderace, Ash sends out Pikachu, which I was pretty surprised that he led Pikachu out the gate as a pretty bold move. And then, the battle just kind of gets started right away. So Ash goes ahead and has Pikachu use Thunderbolt. I'm assuming that, again, I watched this in Japanese, but I'm assuming that it looked like Cinderace used Pyro Ball. I was a little thrown off because the way it was animated, it looked just like a Pyro Ball, but Cinderace typically kicks a rock and juggles it first, and that turns into a Pyro Ball always, but in this, it wasn't depicted that way. So I'm just assuming that it was Pyro Ball, and it pretty much hits Pikachu in the face really hard while Pikachu's shooting off its Thunderbolt, which makes a direct contact with the Cinderace. But then we see Cinderace doesn't really take a lot of damage from it, and it just kind of kicks away the electricity, almost like it was a ground type and it didn't even affect it. Is his Cinderace that strong that he could just take all these attacks like it's nothing, like a Thunderbolt from Ash's ace Pokemon? Pretty crazy. Then Then we see Cinderace's forehead is like glowing yellow, and I heard Leon say Libero, so he was referring to Cinderace's hidden ability, which is Libero. But in the video games, Libero changes the Pokemon's type based on the attack that it uses itself. But in the way it was being depicted, in the way that it was glowing yellow, it almost made it look like Cinderace changed into an electric type based on Pikachu's move. So I don't know if they're handling it different in the anime. I'm really curious to see kind of how they explain that when the subtitles come out. But that was the vibe I was getting. It was almost like he got hit with an electric attack, turned into an electric type, and then kind of just like brushed off the electricity. So I was like, is that how Libero's gonna work in this? Like all the attacks like aren't gonna work against it? It seems pretty broken, but I'm really curious to see kind of like the explanation of that and how that plays out. But that was pretty crazy. So then Ash realizes that that's not the play, so he recalls Pikachu back, and then he sends out his Gengar, and then Leon recalls his Cinderace and sends out his Inteleon. And again, like the Cinderace, his Inteleon is just ridiculous. And I love the way the anime is able to depict the same Pokemon, but in like a different way. So we've seen Go's Cinderace, we've seen Go's Inteleon, but when you look at Leon's Cinderace and Inteleon, you can just tell that they're on a whole nother level. Like the confidence, the way they move, like it's really cool how they could do that in the anime, which I always really appreciate. It's just you can just tell how strong and badass these Pokemon are. Ash is trying to attack with his Gengar, and they're just going at it. And then the crazy part of that battle was when we see Inteleon using like a counter shield, which I believe was with Aqua Jet, and it shows a flashback of Ash's previous battle against Cynthia where Pikachu's using the counter shield. So he learned from Ash to do that, so he made a counter shield out of like Aqua Jet that sent like waves around the field, which is pretty awesome, and it hits the Gengar that was hiding in the ground, which is about time that Ash finally had his Gengar do that. But now when it finally does that, then now all of a sudden Gengar kind of forgets how it could fly, so it was like a little weird. But pretty much they go at it. Gengar's really on the back foot. Ash then Gigantamaxes his Gengar, so again another huge surprise early on is that Ash used one of his gimmicks so early. So he Gigantamaxes a Gengar, and he's just like ripping attacks at Inteleon, and Inteleon's just like moving like an absolute beast, just flipping around and dodging and shooting the attacks. Like it was crazy. And then Ash manages to use Max Ooze, and it ends up killing the Inteleon by like nailing it in the back. Like I thought that was like a really awesome part. So he uses one of his gimmicks to take out just Leon's Inteleon. So that just goes to show how powerful Leon's team is. Then Leon then turns around and sends out Mr. Rime, and then Mr. Rime puts in a little bit of work and finishes off the Gengar. So they're both down one Pokemon, but my takeaway from this episode is that all of Leon's Pokemon are just on a completely different level. Like it's actually crazy. Like if Ash didn't have these three gimmicks to use, like I don't see any chance of him winning, because Leon's Pokemon are just like that strong. It's like actually crazy. And one other thing I want to mention, I did really appreciate that little flashback that they had before the battle when Leon was in the locker room with Hop. They had a quick little flashback of Leon as like a little kid with his Charmander in a battle. I thought that was really cool. I always love seeing flashbacks like that. I wish we got to see a little bit more of that, but that was really cool to see that as well. So yeah, so that's the first episode of the finals of the Masters 8 tournament. I thought it was pretty good and exciting so far. I think the next two episodes are just going to be that much crazier. I've been staying away from the previews because I feel like the previews have been just spoiling so much lately, and I just want to go into these without knowing what's going on and just have like the most fun as possible. But yeah, overall I thought it was a really good episode. I had a really good time. I think we're in for a wild ride, and Ash certainly has a hill to climb in this one. So if you stayed till the end, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you enjoyed the video, do me a huge favor, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and leave me a comment down below and let me know what you thought of the video, and I'll catch you all in the next one.